smaller and smaller number of people, reporters who are doing really accurate, high quality, good investigative reporting today. And that's the niche that the center fills.
The model that many people are looking to now is the Center for Public Integrity.
I think the center is seen as incredibly scrupulous in its research. It's played a huge role of exposing issues to the American public that they hadn't even thought about.
The center goes out and finds all the different data sets that it can and does in-depth analysis, and then they put it in a context so that people can really understand why that issue is important for them as citizens, why it's important for society in general.
They've also evolved from kind of startup, quirky project to institution.
The mission of the Center for Public Integrity is one of the most crucial things that you can imagine today, and that is trying to shed light where the government doesn't want light shed.
We really do look at institutional power and make it more accountable, make it more transparent.
We don't really care who you are. Are you a crime boss? Are you a corporate chief? Are you a government official? If you have a measure of power in our society, we're going to look at you. That's our job.
When the center started doing the buying of the president, nobody was looking at the way contributions to presidential campaigns steered the issues, steered the campaigns. And now there isn't any kind of presidential election that doesn't include that.
We have also looked on a 50-state basis. We know there's now way over $1 billion worth of lobbying going on in state capitals. What we have done now in major projects is look at the lobbyists, the conflicts of interest, the disclosure requirements of each state, and grade their ethical laws. Some 24 states have changed their laws to make them more transparent because they don't like getting an F from the Center for Public Integrity.
The Center's had a long history of looking at money in politics and the failures of government. Recent projects, transportation lobby, broken government, and Pentagon travel continue that tradition and have allowed us to build on it as well. We've done other projects in that realm, like our Murtha Method stories that looked at the circles of influence underlying a lot of the earmark funding that came out of the House Appropriations Defense Subcommittee.
I knew that there was a lot to be covered about the power equation in Washington, about these powerful interests that were spoiling the environment, and they were making billions in the process, and the public was suffering.
I was lucky back in 1995 and 1996 to work with the center on the whole question of how does the chemical industry lobby to keep dangerous products on the market, even when there's alternatives available. Years later, we have been working on one of the most important environmental issues of our time, and that's climate change. And what is the lobbying like on climate change, and how is it really preventing action on this very important global problem? Our work has been cited by more than 200 publications, and Al Gore recently cited our work when he was looking at climate policy and why it hasn't gone further. We're really able to show there really are interests that are working to stop progress on this.
The work that the center did on the financial meltdown, I think, kind of epitomizes the best of their work.
Here we have the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, and the news media is not identifying who got us there, and that's kind of a problem.
Very few other news organizations have the staff, have the funds, and have the intent to try to figure out who's responsible for these big issues.
To go through more than 7 million federal mortgage application records and cull from that who the 25 largest subprime mortgage lenders are is a national public service. This project has been quoted all over the place, from front page stories in the Financial Times to all of the newspapers out in California were carrying it. It was cited on the Hill, put into the congressional record.
The Center for Public Integrity reports the very list of the who's who of these exalted top bankster lenders responsible for the subprime loan fraud and our economic crisis. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to place into the record this report from the Special Inspector General, as well as the information from the Center for Public Integrity on these 25 institutions, and I will try to read them in my remaining time.
It's had the effect of making the people who caused this more responsible, more accountable for it in various ways.
ICIJ is a network of 100 investigative reporters in 50 countries around the world.
It was started in 1997 by the Center as a way to extend the Center's brand of watchdog journalism overseas.
The International Consortium of Investigative Journalists recognizes that many of the issues that are of importance to all our countries are global issues, whether it's terrorism, global warming, the shortage of water.
ICIJ helps to give you that visibility. If your report is ready, if the newspapers, the magazines within your country will not publish it, the ICIJ can own it and then use that global platform to send that information around the world.
One of ICIJ's most ambitious projects was Tobacco Underground. Everywhere we looked, we found billion-dollar black markets. And the problem with that is you create huge unaccountable institutions. You have organized crime syndicates and corrupt government officials, borders that don't work, and taxes that aren't collected. This is on top of the very serious health effects.
The information we have from the Tobacco Underground investigation has allowed us to use real examples of what's happening in different parts of the world to influence governments. Exposure to tobacco smoke and tobacco consumption kills more people than HIV, AIDS, TB, and malaria combined, and it's totally preventable. And to address this issue, there is an international treaty that has been negotiated and adopted. The work done by CIJ is allowing us to have much more of an influence on the development of the treaty.
The Center's completely embraced the new journalism ecosystem. We're a digital news organization. We publish first and foremost on our website.
We have to look at the web as our publishing platform, so that means everything has to be visually appealing, it has to be easily digestible, and it has to get all the information out up front.
We're finding new ways to tell stories to a new generation.
Our work is being used so much more widely now than ever before. Thousands and thousands of blogs are picking up our work and using it.
I see the Center all over the web, which is great. You want to be in multiple places. You need to have Twitter feeds, you need to have Facebook pages. The Center knows that if you're able to use social media and digital media to reach out, more people are going to see the value of the Center's work.
We're also embedding video in some of our pieces, as well as audio. We're doing interactive mapping. We have the burgeoning investigative news network, which tries to stitch together other not-for-profit news groups to do broad investigations. We're working with the Associated Press on AP Exchange. Lots of potential for that to increase the visibility of what the Center does by allowing any Associated Press client to use our stories. And we're seeking out and having success with a growing array of partners.
Serious news media is in crisis. We are under siege, not only in this country, but overseas. And the Center is part of a handful of institutions that are really carrying the flame right now.
What the Center is doing is just a basic investigative service. This is the stuff that democracy needs. Citizens need basic information and to know that it's dependable, and that's our work.